everyone. Thank you for joining us one more time at Mike and Mike. We are delighted that you take the time out to watch this episode again. And please like, share, and subscribe. Please like, share, and subscribe. And will help us to grow. And later on down the line, you will benefit from this marketing for us. We will start giving away prizes. Maybe some Benz and Lexuses and BMWs and Rolex and
yes,
and
all courtesy of Zoran
and,
Momdani.
All courtesies of who?
Zoran Momdani.
And yeah. Anyway, thank you for joining us. Without further ado, we're gonna jump right into our program. As usual, on our panel, we got King Tax.
Wagwan.
Baby. Wagwan.
King Tax, baby.
Rastafarian.
Original. Yellow man.
Yeah, he's yellow man, all right.
Honorary Jamaican.
And to our far right, we got Prime Minister Khalees.
Prime Minister Khalees.
AKA
the Blue Hole Magistrate.
Blue Hole Magistrate.
I like that. Give thanks.
Unfortunately, Mike, AKA Baby Trump,
the intelligent investor is here with us in spirit.
The intelligent
investor
is not here yet, as yet. So in due season, he will show up. And yours truly, Mike. We have a lot, fellas. One of the things we're going to kick off with this big, beautiful bill.
Big, beautiful bill.
I'm proud
the
of
biggest, beautifulest bill
ever
that has ever been passed. For Donald Trump is the greatest president ever.
That's nonsense. So moving right along. Don't believe that. The biggest hypocrite dictator ever.
Donald Trump is MAGA Porter's idol. That's all I have to say.
And get some money from him. That's what I want. But gentlemen, what's going on? So this big, beautiful bill, what he passed, you have some negatives and you have some positive on it. I don't know if it's balanced out where you have 50% of the negative and you have 50% of the positive. To my recollection and basically going over some of the 940 pages and just getting a summary.
It's a lot.
It's more negative than positive inside of it. So one of the things where, like, first, the no tax on tips and no tax on overtime, that's temporarily. That's not going to last for long. So,
you don't think so?
No, basically that's what the bill is.
Yeah, it was. We thought it was permanent, but
it's not going to be permanent. So it's just giving you a little bit incentive. I guess
relief.
Yeah, relief for now. I mean, that could be 6 months from now. That could be 2 months from now. That could be until they decide to lift it up. And even if it goes to 4 years when Trump is in power, once anyone come in, well, if it's another Republican come in, they're going to probably prolong it. But it's not going to last. I don't see this at a timeline on it yet, but it's not going to last for it. What I'm kind of confused about is there's this no tax on Social Security. How the heck you tax Social Security?
I didn't. Yeah, that's still confusing. No, because there's some states that
fixed income. There's a provision in
there's still some states that actually tax your Social Security. Like, see, the thing with New York State, the only good thing about New York State, say if you work you work in New York State, you retire, and you stay in New York State, like, you don't leave the state, they don't tax you. But say, for instance, if you worked in Pennsylvania, lived in Pennsylvania, retired, and then moved to New York State, they're going to tax you.
But I don't understand how they're going to tax when they take in Social Security.
I mean, they shouldn't be taxing them. I think that's thievery, to be honest with you. Like, they shouldn't be taxing them at all.
Social Security and New York State tax, the federal tax, the FDA, FDIC, and all of that nonsense, all of your check. They do everything at one time. So how, this money is already isolated for your Social Security.
Exactly.
So how they are now taxing I mean, what left they are going to tax?
Yeah,
Right.
I mean,
it's
not
kind of
right.
like double dipping because it really unfair.
That's exactly what it is.
You're
That's
take-
exactly you said it.
When people are in their prime years working, you also stripping them of the extra money.
Exactly.
You're reserving it for them for later on. Now they entitled to collect it. You taxing them. You should
Yeah.
do away with that.
It's not right. It's illegal extortion.
I think
And these are
this-
the elderly. They can't fight back.
and maybe this is one of the reasons why they
Most vulnerable population.
they put this thing in public, because knowing that these older folks they don't really have the resources and the manpower to fight back.
They don't have the
No,
energy.
they don't.
This hypocrisy
Some of them don't have
going
the energy.
A lot. Yeah, they don't have the energy. They don't have the time.
Right.
on. It is crazy.
You know what I'm
but
saying? They really don't.
That is
at the end of the
extortion.
day, so the other
Yeah,
couple
definitely.
things, they have tax deduction made on American auto loans, which that's going to be a major problem, because some of the stuff where a lot of the companies are pulling out, like that the
Yeah.
big war with Trump and that guy saying he's gonna start off the turf tax again.
Yeah.
And this millionaire, I forgot what company is that. It's called Keen, or what's his name? Keen something. He launches to open a plant and shift some of the stuff from here in the U.S. to Mexico.
Okay.
Trump says, "Oh, you know what? If you're gonna do that, I'm gonna apply a $200 turf tax on your behind."
200%.
200%.
As he should.
So the guy's like, okay.
200%.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. That's not going to stop me from moving forward. So the guy right now, they think it was, Trump was thinking that also was, that it was something where they going to break land and start a development. They already start development. Like, the thing is almost halfway done. It's supposed to launch in 25 in 2026.
2026.
So that means they were already building this thing even before Trump came in.
They had to. If you're telling me if it's already
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I think that's something he would know though.
he didn't scare him in an essence where he's like, Trump
he's
says,
not
I'm gonna put
deterred.
on the 200% turf on you. He's
Yeah.
like, okay, whatever. I'm still building this plant.
Yeah.
And I'm shifting from US to over there. So that's gonna
I don't think that
impact-
200% is going to stick. Eventually, they'll probably negotiate something. I've noticed what he's been doing. If you notice the whole time with this tariff business, he puts out a number, and then they go back and forth, and then they finally negotiate something else, so where both parties are happy.
It's probably a strategy.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. It
Some
just
type of
sounds
a
like
strategy
negotiation tactics to me.
where he uses to kind of get their
Fear-mongering.
attention.
No,
Yeah.
not fear.
I wouldn't say fear mongering.
Not necessarily fear mongering. It's
I
just.
would, I would say
They're
if,
tactics.
if you're threatening 200%,
It's a tactics. Easy.
I mean, that's not-
for the average or regular business person.
But
That would
that's
have been a deterrent.
Yeah, but this isn't a regular business person. Obviously, this is someone that has a lot of money. But the reason why he's charging him 200% is because he's taking all his stuff and sending it to another country, but still making money off of us. So since he's making money off of us, we're gonna tax him
So
heavily.
you want-
But maybe
Dis-
that's one of the reasons why he's
disincentivize him.
leaving, because of the nonsense that's going on here with,
Yeah.
with the turf stuff and stuff like that. So instead of,
No, he should just stay.
but he stays.
He's
probably.
staying.
I mean, you think these guys are smart as a business owner, right? Because they probably analyze their marketing geniuses and whatever. Probably analyze and like, listen, if we stay for the next 5 years or next 10 years, we're gonna be losing a couple $1 billion.
They should just
If we
stay.
go over Mexico, we may lose $1 billion, but we make $20 billion. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah. Yeah, it's
they
more
probably,
profitable
they
for them.
probably do all of this analytical stuff already.
Yeah.
That's why they're making the move. Because for me, if I'm in a situation and I realize if I'm making 20 billion here and I move over there, I'm going to be making 5 billion. That doesn't make any sense for me.
Nah, it doesn't.
Financially, it doesn't make any sense. I'm not going anywhere.
It's a big gap.
Right.
But since they are making that much money, Trump knows that, sees that. He's like, all right, well, I'm gonna charge you 200% because I'm gonna get my piece, and that's just business.
Yeah, but then again, does he have to sell to America? That's the problem, because wherever, I mean, that's the other thing too. If he rised up and
Everybody
he's like,
sells to America. We're the biggest consumer.
yeah, but I mean, it doesn't mean that this guy is not falling for Trump threats.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's not falling for Trump's threats and still moving forward with this stuff,
Yeah.
he's making a lot of money, one. And I think, two, he necessarily don't have to sell his product here.
Right.
because he has to evaluate all of that stuff. He said, you know what? If Trump is gonna do this, and then my stuff I want to sell to the U.S. and it's gonna impact me, I can't make a move like this.
Yeah.
But I think whatever product he's selling, maybe he's making his money elsewhere more than making the money in the U.S. So he's probably
that's
making
possibility.
$10 here in the U.S. and worldwide he's making $40 or $50.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So that is.
Or if you just got a hot commodity, it's probably gonna cost him about 50 cents, and he probably gonna make $3. You take your dollar out of that.
Yeah.
Give it to you.
Yeah. So the other thing too, where there is a deep cut on food stamps, Medicaid, and stuff like that. That right now is gonna phase in over 10-year time period.
Yeah, but remember, they were saying for the food stamps and the Medicaid that's getting cut from people that are not
Contributing.
legal to this country.
Oh, so they're not referring to like
like regular people that are from here. They're not getting cut.
Say it again, no, please. Say it again.
Like basically the illegal aliens that have been getting benefits, undocumented, illegal.
Yeah, some of those guys.
They have been getting benefits. The Medicaid, the SNAP, that's going to get cut because they do not belong to this country.
Right.
They're not citizens. They're not nationals. Now, people that live here and obviously and are on public assistance,
couldn't get
they'll
help.
still get that. But matter of fact, remember, they only have, I think, till, when is it? I think it's like till mid-2027. They only have to, remember, because he also passed that bill that even the people that are on public assistance now that are from here, they only have 2 years to get their stuff together. And to be honest, I agree with that, to eliminate that generational, because, there's been generations of people on public assistance,
right.
fifth and sixth generation people on the projects. So all that's coming to an end.
Yeah.
But as far as what they cut, that Medicaid and SNAP benefits, that was for illegal aliens. That didn't necessarily apply to everybody.
I mean, these guys were benefiting a whole lot. And I'm not saying, these guys don't need help. But at the same time, I remember one time I went seeking help from the government.
Yeah.
Of all my 20-something years working from out of high school into college and moving, started living my life and never, thank God that I never had to ask the government for anything. So during the pandemic situation, which times was getting rough and stuff like that. And, a lot of people were making money too in the pandemic and stuff like that. But after it started wavering out, I realized, things wasn't started flowing yet how it was flowing now. And I went to the government and I said, listen, I've been paying my tax for over 20, 30-something years. So I need, some type of a help for now, just temporarily.
Yeah.
I know I'm trying to get it because I don't want to be on this type of system in any way. Yeah. And what Kelly was seeking, it was like a one-time deal.
Say what?
I was seeking like a one-time deal, one-time help.
What is a one-time deal?
Meaning like they help you just one time and forget about it.
It's a one-shot deal. No, one time. Like
deal.
they'll give you a certain amount.
They give you a certain amount of money until you buy.
They give you a certain amount of money, and then that's assistance. It could be a couple of $1,000s.
That's it. Based on what you need help
based
for.
on
So
what the situation is.
if you
they
want
call it
$10,
one-shot deal.
They want $10. They analyze the situation and they say, all right, here's the $10, and that's it.
Yeah.
Bye-bye to you. Unlike some other people now, they live on the system.
Yeah.
They may not getting the $10, but they would get like 5 on a regular basis.
And that's abuse. That's been going on
that was happening
forever.
now, whereas these immigrants, they come over and they were living a better lifestyle than me and others, they were getting about $5 or $20,000 in food stamps. They were getting $500 or $5,000 in cash.
Yep.
And then also they were all being put up into hotels and motels and stuff like that.
And they were given money like for some of the immigrants. I forgot where were they from. I think it was the ones from Haiti. From Haiti, because remember they had an influx of Haitians that moved over into the Midwest, into Ohio. Remember when he made that comment? Oh, they're eating dogs. It was in regards to that. I'm like, that was ridiculous. I'm like, it was funny, but that was ridiculous. But even that influx of people, they gave them money for down payments to buy a home, which drove the price up in that area, in that little town over there in Ohio. Yeah.
It is crazy, man. I mean, it's like, and you have citizens here and people. I'm not against the immigrants because technically I'm an immigrant myself.
Yeah.
Everyone that wasn't born here.
I'm an immigrant.
Right.
Yeah, but
So-
you guys follow due process.
but we
Like you
follow
guys are
the
immigrants, but you
process,
guys are
you know,
citizens.
and some of
Right.
these people here that came over, they're trying to follow some of the process.
Yeah.
You have some bad ones where they don't, you know, but you have some innocent one here, even though they still get caught up in the mix.
Yeah.
And the government still was helping them out. And as I said, I don't turn a blind eye to situation like that. But what kind of shocked me and saddened me a little bit is that I went to you for help. I never asked you for a dime for all my life. I've been working from high school. In high school, I started working.
Yeah.
Left went to college, still working, and they paid my tax every year for years upon years, decades upon decades. And I came to you now. It's like, listen, I'm down and out at this moment. I need some help. At least one shot. I'm not asking for a long term. At least one shot, because way I analyze things, if I get this one shot, things are lining up where I could stand on my own and then move on from there. I just need that.
Yeah, it's just a
boost.
a little push.
And they look
We
at
all,
me
we all
like,
do. We all do actually.
yeah, they
Little
look at me
assistance.
At
like,
some point.
hell no.
Just a hard
I'm-
no like that.
Yeah, and I'm like, and they find, so I even, up to this day, and I just left it alone. Up to this day, I tried to fight it. I went and I was like, okay, this is not working and this is unfair.
Yeah.
They gave me an opportunity for me to get a hearing and go in front of the judge and stated my case, why the government still should help me in my situation.
Yeah.
They set a hearing date. The first mistake they made, number one, they sent me a date of, say it was like September 15 of 2029.
Wow. That is ridiculous.
So
No,
I
wait,
called them
wait,
up and I
wait.
was like, wait a minute.
could
They
that.
do that to deter you from following through.
So I called it, sure, it's
They
probably,
gotta deter me.
it's probably a mistake. No, it probably was a mistake. So I called them because they said, no, we don't have anything like that in the system. It has to be a mistake or whatever the case may be. So I called them up and I said, okay, sure, just wait. They're going to correct it and they're going to give you the right date. This was almost a year and a half ago. I'm still waiting.
That's insane. That's insane.
So that means that date probably seems correct.
The problem with that is that by the time the date comes, you're already sturdy on your feet.
yeah. Yeah. Then you don't need him. Like, I don't need your help now. 5
Yeah.
years later, I
You know,
figured it out.
Probably get, whatever, hopefully getting some riches and stuff like that. And I'm like, no, you're coming when I have all this
I didn't know
stuff.
that was-
They're like, I don't need you. Like, I had to engage in illicit activity to gain funds. So I don't need your help anymore.
What's the list?
No, that's what you tell them. I don't need it now because I had to do so. I had to go
I had to do
engage.
some TikToks.
I had to go engage. I had to
You
go
gotta do some
engage
toxic.
I got to do some toxicity.
in illicit activity. You know what I'm saying? Had to bust a couple heads open, pip a couple holes, things like that, make my money. I don't need your help anymore.
They go, and then they might
Look at Asia's face. Look at Asia's face.
They might press you a little bit too, though. You gotta pay some taxes on that.
I pay some taxes.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
They're gonna lend you some. Or actually, they're gonna give you the money and then they're gonna charge you
No,
tax.
because that's when you register as a nonprofit 501c3. Be like, don't you understand? I'm an ordained minister on the internet. You understand? Those women,
he definitely
those women are my disciples, and I send them out to help people
he's
feel
definitely a
good.
schemer, right?
He's very equipped with it too. Like the way
He's definitely a world class schemer.
You gotta be. It's the American way.
for a while I thought he was unserious about that, but he's serious. Like, I was like, okay, go ahead.
You gotta be. It's
So
the
one
American
of
way.
the, one of the, me started talking about a little bit about
Uh-huh.
some of the good stuff now. So one of the things, I mean, there are more bad stuff there, but me kind of mix it up. So
Yeah,
they're increasing the child tax credit, which is great.
that's
so,
always good.
They increase it about 40.
What's the child tax credit about?
Child tax credit is when you have a child. I think what it used to be like $1,800.
1800 they use it. I think it's 18 or
For every
or
child that you
something
got, they deduct 1,800. So that means that you're gonna get more money back
In return.
in return.
on your return.
So
So that from taxable wages or whatever. Like, say for instance, what do they always take out of your taxable wages? Like when it's basically that's deducted from your gross pay,
Right.
from what you made gross. So then this way, whenever your net pay is actually gonna look a lot lower. But if that's the case, depending on what you're supposed to make, that means that you'll get more money back in the refund if you have a child tax credit.
Right.
Because I
So
think
you-
what is it? It's like 18. What they
Right,
raised it to?
when you
I think
file.
it was like 18, 22 something.
They raised it up to 2,200.
Yes, something
Yeah,
like that.
and then you got to remember for each kid, depending on where you're at, for each kid you might get back $3,000 a kid.
Yeah, and that could set you
Right?
off easy. I mean, if you have like 3 or 4 kids, that could set you
Yeah.
off. Just that alone, plus
Yeah.
your tax, yours tax what you file. I mean, it's still on your tax, but if the kids credit alone, let's say you have 3 kids, right, or 4
Right.
kids, and it's let's say 2,200 a kid, right? So the 4 kids, that $8,000 right there, plus the tax what you may file for your house or any other benefits
Yeah.
and stuff like that. That could be another 5,000,
Yep.
another 6,000 on top of that 8. You're walking away with like 12, 14,000.
So it's
like
basically
that
another
easily.
Yeah, that's
deduction.
good money, but I think you start itemizing and stuff.
Yeah,
like
it's a
that.
deduction. Why you think all those single baby moms that got like 4 kids, they'll get back like $12,000,
every year.
and then they buy like a used Ultima flat screen and like a pink wig or some
That's
shit.
all a little stereotypical right now. Man.
Bro, it's facts.
Well, I've seen it, but I don't know if that's the route they went. And
They wait for Amazon Prime. You
They wait
see
for
it?
Amazon-
Actually, today's Prime Day. It's another reason I called out. I don't want to be bothered with that. Today and tomorrow's Prime Day.
I don't know. So the other thing too, ICE, the bill, the big beautiful bill, is also adding some money to continue building the wall and tighten up the border security. It's a good thing, but technically that's not going to stop.
Yeah, they focused a lot. I've noticed that, like with the
They-
big beautiful
they
bill,
say-
they
they-
focused a lot on border
They say-
security.
They say
So
nobody
I think
came
they mean
across
it.
the border last month illegally.
No, they didn't. Nah, completely. Like they're not playing. Like they
Zero.
brought things to a halt. Yeah.
0 who came across the border.
Yeah.
Illegally.
That's what they know of. To their knowledge, because remember, these guys have many ways. They have holes they dig in.
Yeah.
Some of these guys jump on buses, fly, whatever the case may be. So yeah, that to their knowledge, meaning that they didn't eyeball anyone jumping on over a wall or going underneath the ground.
But you think Border Patrol don't know where these spots are at? They know that they know that there's certain
but
spots
again,
along the Rio
this is one of
Grande.
the things the big beautiful bill is doing is increasing ICE security.
Yeah.
So they're gonna get more manpower.
Yup.
So even though they may know that where these holes and these spots and these secret entries are, they don't have the manpower to cover those entries because remember the borderline is broad. So
Yeah.
you're gonna have you can't have 5,000 men over here and just have 1,000.
Because that borderline stretches basically from California all the way to across Texas.
all the way over there.
All the way across Texas. That's a couple of thousand miles.
Yeah, exactly. And the U.S. law enforcement, the entirety, the entity of the law enforcement is I think it's probably like, maybe, I would run it off to about 800,000 people in total. Out of 340 million, it's 340 million citizens here.
Yeah.
So out of the 340 million people here, you have 700 to 800 law enforcement officers when it comes to the Marines, the soldiers, the Navy, the CIA is not really in law, but it's all of that included.
Yeah.
The FBI, the local cops, the special services, the hidden secret, whatever, all of that combines to about 800 and something thousand.
For 330 million people.
Out of 340 something million people.
That's crazy.
So how can they manage that?
That's crazy.
They can't cover that. That's why
That's like 1 every 400,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane.
There's no way they're gonna stop it.
It's a little scary.
And then if they take a few more thousands out of the population, it's not everyone want to go in law enforcement. You know, you have 1 or 2 people who would like to be a cop, would like to be because of a certain background they can't do, so they would settle with security, and so forth. Because I know I've seen of people who they want to become a cop so bad, but either maybe because of lack of education or certain documentation. Certain things that prevent them
Psych
from
evaluation. If they can't pass a psych evaluation,
yeah.
they have no business being police.
Yeah, so all of that, but they love. I mean, some of them signed up to be auxiliary
Some
cops,
might have some
Running cops.
misdemeanor.
Yeah.
and some of that may
criminal
prevent.
record stuff like that.
See, like I can't be a cop. They gave me a test.
They can't.
They asked me. It's like, There's like, if you see people dealing drugs on the corner, what are you gonna do?
I'm gonna sell some too.
I told them. I told them. I said, well, as a police officer, I'm gonna show them my bags. I'm gonna shake them down and let them know you can't conduct business unless I have $1,000 every Friday.
No, you didn't tell them.
That was in the assessment.
Yo,
They denied my application. That was my only one time I tried to get an NYPD.
You wouldn't probably walk out there. They're
I
probably.
like
Wait a minute. He's like, unless you give me $1,000 to stay on the corner here, nah. Ain't gonna happen.
NYPD is like, okay, application denied. No.
They're gonna deny application and then come and put a cuffs on you.
No,
It's
they
like,
just denied the
they're gonna
application.
do what they call it, minority report on his behind. You know when the minority report, this movie with Tom Cruise,
They
where
can't run a minority report on me.
where they
Look, I have no fingerprints. I rub my finger. I've been rubbing my hands on a pumice stone for 10 years. I have no finger. No. These are my eyeballs, bro. I took these from an old Asian lady.
So this movie is based on they trying to stop criminals before they commit the crime.
I love Minority Report. I watched the series too. The series is good too.
It's classic.
Yes.
So they're gonna, based on him making that statement, they're like,
You got
no.
a lot of tendencies.
No, they just denied me. Like I applied to everywhere. They're like, you know what? There's like, sir, like due to your my criminality mindset and criminalistic ways. They said the only place I can work at is the post office. So 11 years later, here I am.
If you see a colleague stealing assets,
Yeah.
what do you
I
do?
would share with him. I would say, yo, let's split this 50-50.
Exactly. They don't.
This is King Tox you're talking about.
Exactly. That's why look, they won't let me be a DEA agent. They're like, no, that's way too much. That's way too much temptation for me to be a DEA agent.
King Tox, baby.
Exactly.
King Tox, baby.
They won't put me in a position of power because they'll know that I'll abuse it. So
He said, no. You're not helping yourself right now.
One of the things that confused me with this bill too,
Uh-huh.
moving forward, is that they have this thing that creating Trump account for every American.
yeah, I didn't
newborn.
understand that part. What
I
is
don't
that?
understand
What
that.
is
What's
that?
crap they talking about?
What is it?
What kind of account?
They're creating a Trump account.
Okay.
Exactly what's in the bill. They're creating a Trump account for every American newborn baby. What the hell?
like a
that
register.
mean?
Like a register.
I
They
don't
want
know.
to
I'm
keep. They want to
trying
keep a
to
tally.
dig-
Yeah, that didn't.
I'm
That
digging-
didn't sit right with me.
I dig so deep and I still can't find any elaboration or expansion.
They
on
want
it.
they want to discontinue. They want to abolish birthright
Yeah, they do want to abolish birthright citizenship.
But that doesn't, I don't think that has a connection.
yeah,
to
see
it.
that. To be honest, when you say that
that's
actually
the database right
that
there.
opens up
They
that
created.
kind of thing. Though that
So
opens up a
you're
segue
able to,
for child trafficking.
Right, you're able to screen every birth.
Yeah, but I mean, we still speculate that is, but I still trying to figure out what is this. I mean, is something that they're gonna create under Trump's name, or I mean, what is Trump's account? That's the thing.
That's what
is
they're
the
calling
Trump
it, the Trump account. Like how they had Obamacare. Now
Mhm.
that's going to be the Trump
The Trump account?
or
Oh,
the
okay.
Trump
Okay.
register or whatever. Because if they want to, basically, that's like a registry. Like you know how they have the social register, so that's a registry. So most likely that's the Trump registry because they want to have all records of I guess
All newborn
U.S. citizen births to make sure that it's not birthright citizenship or if the parents, because what is basically with that ties into they don't want no more because remember for the longest you were able to come here from another country, give birth to a child here in
And
this
then
country,
leave. Yeah.
and now your child
Is
is
a
an
citizen.
American citizen.
With all the rights.
So you can, you have him born here, then you go back to wherever, and then when he turns 18, he comes over here on his own volition, and he already has citizenship. So basically, that's what that ties in because he doesn't want to do that anymore. He wants to. That's why they're trying to. That's really why they're trying to eradicate it. And a lot of people that remember that birthright citizenship, that was initially enacted or put into play for the children of slaves, and they found a way to, they found some loophole to where they were able to use it for like I said, an immigrant, somebody coming here from Venezuela on vacation and they're pregnant. Right. And on that vacation, they have the baby here in the United States. Now the kid is a United States citizen.
Right.
According to Mike too, I mean, there's other countries like England and stuff like that don't support that stuff.
No, to be honest, we're the only country that does that.
Yeah, you come there, you're born there, whether you're from wherever, and you're born, your child is not a citizen there. You're still whatever.
Yeah, your
country
child
you're
is a
from,
citizen or wherever your parents are from.
Wherever your parents from. So yeah, you just
What if the parents legal residents.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if the parents are from here or they're U.S. citizens and they live here,
they document it.
yeah, then that's a different story. But they mean like something like, I'm trying to think of a country that will come over here to give birth. Somebody from Mexico.
Every country.
Anyway,
Not really, because if you notice a lot of Eastern European countries, like the ones that have money, they don't bother. You don't see a lot of Danish here. Why? Because the Danish have money. You don't see a lot of people from Singapore here. Why? Because Singapore has money. So it's like these, like certain countries, like Germans. There's a lot of Germans here, but not that many, because Germans have money.
I wouldn't know how a German or Singapore, is that the word? I'm not sure. I wouldn't sure.
Yeah.
If what?
I wouldn't sure how to identify them.
Huh? You ask them.
I wouldn't.
I mean, you listen to how they speak. I mean, you can kind of depict. If you listen to how they speak, then you kind of will depict. I mean, where they probably
ask
from
them.
German or somewhere.
The best way to get an accurate answer, the best way to just say the most ignorant thing you can think of, and then to correct you, and then you know it's the right answer.
Yo, he has some ways of doing
That's some logic, though. That's some deep logic, though. I like that, though.
You can't make that up, man. But I don't know what.
But that's what that ties into. That whole Trump register or whatever.
The whole issue is that this now technically, because it's a part of the big beautiful bill.
Yeah.
Right.
So technically it's passed. And then the other thing too is that if your parents, if you're not born, actually they were pushing, I think sometime last week into this week, they were pushing for Trump to deport himself and Ilana, which makes sense.
Trump's from here though. He's from Queens.
Deport himself.
What are you talking about? His parents are not from here. That's the thing.
No, his grandfather's not from here. His parents are from here.
No, his parents didn't born here.
No, what is his father, Frederick? Frederick was I mean, not Frederick. Here. What's his father's name? That's his uncle's name. His father's name is Fred, but it's not Frederick. I think it's just something else. But remember, Fred is from here. Now, his grandfather...
He came over here when he was young.
No, like his grandfather...
Mid-age.
Initially, the way it worked, Trump's great-grandfather, Frederick, was also named Frederick. He moved here from Russia, because remember, they're Russian.
Mm-hmm.
He moved here from Russia during the gold rush. Remember in the 1800s?
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't move here. The genius thing about that is that he didn't remember. Everybody moved here because they were mining gold. Trump's grandfather, great-grandfather, I should say, or grandfather, he came here and put up hostels, like hoe houses, for the gold miners. For them, or saloons. So basically, he had like brothels. So he came here, made his money with the brothels during the gold rush. He went back to Russia. And then what it is, then he had went back, got another wife, came back here, and that's when he gave birth to Trump's father. So Trump's not a first-generation American. He's actually second-generation American.
Yeah, but he's still not American. The parents wasn't born here because according to Trump and the rules why he's going by, one parent from here has to born here from an American family.
Yeah.
His father, who came here, was not American family. They came from Russia. They came from
I think his mom's from here.
From
his mother's from here.
His
mother's American.
Doubt it, because number one is that a lot of people also out there, people have done research also was pushing for him and for him to also get deported from for the process what he's applying with these birthright citizenship, for him to be a part of it, because he's not.
Yeah.
So people have the information about his background, and if the information what they have, if it was correct in sense that where it didn't apply to him, they would have not pushing it. I mean, they were pushing it for Ilana, or whatever her name is, and
his wife, Melania?
Melania.
Because Melania's not from here. Remember, Melania is a citizen by marriage.
Correct. And then Trump himself, his parents, because he's pushing that if one of your parents are not from here, you're not going to be a citizen.
His mother from...
So both of his
from
parents,
here, I think.
His mother's from the United Kingdom. I just read it.
Both of his
British,
parents wasn't born here. And especially the grandfather came here.
No, his grandfather came, made his money, then went back to Russia.
Back. Right.
And then married again, brought a family over here, but then gave birth
to... The problem with that...
And then gave birth here. So technically...
The problem is that if you want to start a new slate, that's fine. But you can't go back and trying to revoke.
No, there was the funniest thing. It was on YouTube because there was a reporter stood their ground and ask him. It's so popular now on the internet, on YouTube.
Going viral.
A reporter, and yes, it went viral, and he was lashing out because he never expected a reporter would ask him something.
I'm sorry, they're not Russian. They're Bavarian. They're of Bavarian, German, and Scottish descent. His father's from the Bronx, though. His father's from the Bronx, though. See, the Bronx. His mother's from UK.
Yeah, they came here, and remember the grandfather came here, right?
That's Frederick, the great grandfather.
Went back and get some woman, married them, and came back here. Shack up
no,
again.
see, but look, he was born here. See, in the Bronx.
No, I'm not saying he wasn't born here. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that for the parents, has to be his parents has to be born here, right? So the grandfather, remember?
No, but what I'm saying is that Fred Trump was born here. So since Fred Trump was born here,
but he was still born from an immigrant.
Yeah, I know that. So they would have to deport Fred Trump, but Donald Trump can actually stay here because he's a second generation. He's a second generation American.
No, that would apply to him.
Now, if it was, no, it doesn't. It doesn't apply to the next generation after that. It just applies.
It shouldn't apply for anybody.
It just applies to first generation born.
It should apply for anybody who's already born.
But anyway, let's say he even bypassed that, right? Because even some of the Congress member was pushing out on the same thing. It's like, well, you need to deport your behind too, because technically, so these guys, I mean, they won't. I don't think they would make a statement like that if Trump didn't fit the category of what he's trying to implement. But the right thing. I don't think they would be that crazy. I mean, with lack of information and trying to push that. So I'm thinking that they have correct information to mention that. I know Melania herself, she would have to go.
Yeah, she's married but you got to remember that's another one of those topics that's not going to happen. It's never going to come into fruition. He knows it's not going to come into fruition. He does that.
It may not happen under his leadership.
No, it won't. That's what I'm saying. But the reason
why do you think he's pushing for it?
Do you know why? Because he has a certain demographic of people that want that. You understand? So he does that to appease them. He's not going to do it, but he does that to appease them.
Well, he's not going to do it.
Because there's a big demographic of people that support him
that
would like to see that happen.
What's that?
As far as that whole birthright citizenship, because but see what he doesn't understand is that demographic of people that are pushing for that, what they don't understand is that applies to them too. Because that demographic of people, they might be fourth and fifth generation Americans, but at the end of the day, they're not from here. Their bloodline doesn't trace to that.
Technically,
who are you gonna keep? Who are you gonna keep to run the country? The economy is gonna
check this out. Technically, everybody.
If that's the route they want to go, the economy is gonna tank.
Of course, it's gonna tank because you got to remember this certain demographic of people, which are basically Caucasians, they're not the money makers anymore. They're not the ones that spend the most money. They're not the ones that make the most money. It's people of color now. You understand? Latino, Asian, Black. Our demographic, our spending power, our purchasing power is way more powerful than theirs because we have more people here. The only thing that the Caucasians have is that they're still managing, is that people still allow them to manage, our funds. And then once that goes away, they don't have. So for something like that, that's never going to happen. He's just doing that to appease to a certain demographic to keep them, to keep them placated.
I guess to keep them a base.
That sounds good and dandy, but he's implementing it. The funniest thing is that if we want to get on a technicality level, every doggone people need to leave this country.
Yeah, basically. That's
because
that's basically what it sounds like.
So if you want to apply this birthright crap, every single human being except the Native Americans and except the kings
and the Moors.
The Moors, that's
because remember this is their land. Because you got to remember that's what goes into
them.
Yeah.
Everybody
this is their land.
Home.
Like basically a lot of black. You got to remember like a lot of black people.
They're gonna have to yank me out, man. I already passed my test.
Like a lot of black people in this country. They're from this country. They don't have any roots that trace back to Africa, or their roots trace back to this land.
I know a couple people who.
What
do you mean?
Traces all back to this. You got to remember that whole transatlantic slave trade. That was a real thing, but it wasn't as big as how they portrayed it to be. Not every. Let's put it this way. I want to say maybe of all you shouldn't even use black because that's a misnomer. But of all the Moorish, darker complected people in this country, I want to say only maybe a good 20 to 30% of their bloodline traces back to Africa. The rest of their bloodline traces back to here, the Americas.
Maybe that's some people that are born here, but technically, every one of them that can trace back to Africa. Because remember, there was no black here, right? The first black that came here in this,
it was always here.
No, the first black that arrived here in the America, in United States of America, was in 18 or 17.
No,
wait.
that's a lie. That they've been here. They've been here the whole time.
How they gonna be here? The only people that was here was the Native American and the Kings.
The Indians.
Native Americans is a colonialized term. The real term is more. They look like me and you. They look like us. Well, I'm light, but I'm saying they're from here.
I thought they look Indian.
I
thought they look Indian.
No, but they're
they
darker
look Indian,
complected. But what it is, but see, even Indian, they're not Indian. You know why? Because Indians are from India. That's what I'm saying. Like that's
he's going on the technical terms.
It's a whole word trickery. So that's what I mean. Like the whole transatlantic slave was a real thing, but what it is, not everybody comes from. Now you got to remember, America was connected to Africa when it was Pangea. So all of America was connected to Northwest Africa. So all of America, but remember, the America's been here. The America's been here. Everything's been here. North America, Central America, South America. All this is the Americas. This is our land. This is the indigenous land of copper complected people, of darker complexion. That and Africa. But what I'm saying is that the people that they brought over here from Africa, if you really want to trace their bloodlines and going back, a couple of 100,000 years, only 20 to 30% goes really back to Africa because a lot of people are from here. Like what it is, that's when they say, oh, you got Indian in family. That's a colonialized term because you got to remember when the conquerors came. Yeah, that goes back to Christian slave codes and the black codes and all that. So they have us thinking like we're not really supposed to call ourselves black because black in the eyes of law, that's a status. Black means death. You understand? It's not a color. Black means death. White means of nobility.
But I mean, you're looking. I guess you're coming from the skin texture side.
Yeah.
But not from the culture side.
Mike
in the house.
Yes, the intelligent investor.
AKA Trump. Baby Trump in the house. On the mercy.
The intelligent investor. Trump is the greatest president ever.
Yeah, that was a great point, though.
Yeah. No, but it's true. Like it's true. But I know, like going back
I mean, if he's looking from a skin texture point of view, yes,
Yeah.
because the Native Americans, they are not like his type of complexion. They're dark skinned just like us. So in that, aspect,
they look Indian, right?
huh?
Yeah, well, some of
But
them
they are
like
Indians, but
Yeah,
there's
well, I
some
mean,
of them, they are
some of
mixed
them no, but then
because-
some of them look
But-
like us. They look like they'll. You'll have somebody that was part of a tribe,
So
Choctaw
that-
tribe. He'll look exactly like Mike.
So that would be a misnomer.
Or he'll look like you.
You can't call him that.
Yeah, it's a misnomer. So you can't
can't call
necessarily.
it that.
Well, even Native American, that's a misnomer. That's a colonialized term that goes back to the Christian slave codes.
Right. Okay.
So what it is, the proper term is more, because they're all Moroccans, Northwest Morocco. This is all what is it? The country of Morocco is the Moroccan kingdom, but this whole country here, this is the Moroccan Empire. That's why it's called America. Al Morocco, Al Moroccan.
That's a deep perspective.
Yeah, man. But
That's history, baby.
Yeah, that's like,
Like,
but that goes back to
They give it to send us all back, man.
that goes back to like Moors and
They
Tartarians.
say-
They can't send us anywhere.
It's all about
A big, beautiful
they
business.
want to
man.
discontinue.
back to where?
Yeah.
Bronx.
Look, like Jamaicans. Look, exactly. Like
Jersey,
look, like Jamaicans. Jamaicans are part of the Americas. Like there's probably Jamaicans that have never left that island, even though there was a slave trade and Jamaica was a stop. Same way Puerto Rico was a stop. Same way Dominican Republic was a stop.
Right,
There's probably
right.
Jamaicans that are native to that island of what's the real? It's not Jamaica is Jamaica, or I think it's the original.
I mean,
name.
technically,
and there's that indigenous to that
American
land.
too, 'cause
But we were
over
on-
here, just North
we-
America.
They brought
I'm from Central America.
they brought
Yeah.
some of
Yes,
the Africans that also faces there was a tribe there already in Jamaica which called the Arawaks, right?
The Arawaks,
I
yes,
read about
exactly.
the Arawaks.
The
So
Arawaks and the Tainos,
They were
exactly.
the one that merged from, where they brought them from Africa, that merged with those
Exactly.
colony.
Yes,
over there.
exactly.
And then that culture
That's
started.
where you came.
mix-
You got the mestizos and all that. Yeah,
Correct.
Exactly.
Mayans.
Yes. But that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of them, like, look, let's put it this way. If you trace your roots probably trace directly to Belize. There's probably no roots going back to Africa. Your roots probably trace directly to Belize.
How so? Nobody was in Belize.
What do you mean? There was still people there. You guys act like there was only people on that side of the world. There's been people here. There was always people here.
They had to come from somewhere.
Yeah, there were always
Yeah, I
people
mean,
here.
there was always people here, but
There was always
the
people here.
people was basically again not the Nori, but the Native Americans.
Yeah.
So
Which were here, and then they brought in
So Columbus didn't discover America.
Columbus didn't discover.
No, he
Right.
didn't. It was already
you
here.
can
How you
discover-
gonna something that was already here?
Discover something that is already here. Somebody's that's already here. I mean, discovery is like you found something that no one
Didn't exist.
Right, didn't
All right,
exist.
you heard of the Dark Ages, right? You know how we always in the history books we read about the Dark Ages.
No, not entirely.
You know what the Dark Ages really is? That was like during medieval times, and they try to make it seem like it was make believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you ever see portrayals of that, like it's all white people, that wasn't the case. This was during the time when the Moors ruled the world. You guys are Moors. You're the darker complected people. The Caucasians were not. They were servants.
Moroccans.
Yeah. No. Well, Moroccan. They're all
that-
Moroccans. That's what I'm saying. All Moors. So that's what I'm saying. But that goes back thousands of years when the earth was connected. I mean, when it was Pangea. So that goes back. That's what I'm saying. They make it seem like the first people were only here. The people been here. They've been here but what it is, they had different kinds of civilizations. There was different tribes, different things like that. The Europeans came. See, all the history that we know that grew up, that's all European. That's all European colonization. You know what I'm saying?
So, I mean, it's all dandy and everything, but with the current administration, who are the ones that...
With the current administration, if they really were to follow those rules, then they got to send all the Europeans back too.
Based on this,
they got to send all the Europeans back. That's why it's not going to go through.
Based on this birthright rule, technically, if they, I mean, they already
because there's a certain demographic that wants to see that happen.
Real quick, what are we talking about?
The birthright.
The birthright citizenship.
The big beautiful bill.
We're going over the big beautiful bill.
Big beautiful bill. So we reach out the birthright.
BBB.
Yeah.
The birthright citizenship,
like
which we kind of, which they were pushing based on the facts what they had.
They like more Justin BBB or
BBB, exactly.
like BBL.
You want
BBB.
BBL.
BBL.
Triple B's. No, so we were going over some of the points.
So the point is that we are trying to figure out, because there were some group of people, including in Congress, were saying that if you pushing this and pass this, that means you're behind Milani and the whole tribe of y'all need to go home to, which they are correct. And on a technical level, on a deep technical level, everybody's supposed
Why
to
would you
go
shoot yourself in the foot, though?
If they,
Everybody's
What'd you say?
Why would you shoot yourself in the foot? Like, you can't be
Because
that
what it is, you know
and
what it is?
lobbying for that.
Because a lot of the times, you got to remember, our education system, we've been so indoctrinated that a lot of people don't do research. So they can do that knowing that this applies to everybody. But then what it is, they're counting on the fact that people aren't actually going to crack open a book and actually look for that loophole and say, wait a minute, if this applies to me, this applies to you too.
And
Your
that's what's
family's not
happening.
from
And
here.
that's
Your family's from Scotland. Your family's from Germany. You got to go back too.
And that's why his father was pissed when the journalist asked him the question,
Yeah.
because he was shocked. He never knew that the journalist was going to ask him the question.
But like
He's
I said,
how dare you ask that?
I don't think
stupid
that-
question?
Right, what is called much ado about nothing, man.
But like I said,
You know, they said something, they wonder how to nothing stick on Diddy.
yeah. I mean, to be honest, a lot of things.
You trying to understand what all the rumblings about?
That whole Diddy trial was a big distraction. Like from what was going on. Like, look, the whole thing, how they set us up, talking about, oh, now there's no Epstein list. Really?
I seen
that-
that.
that
I
was-
seen it.
So
ago.
if there's no
FBI
Epstein
said
list,
that.
if there's no Epstein list,
Trump
why is
came out and
Ghislaine?
said that. He even himself.
Yeah, there's
came
no
out.
Epstein list. I'm like, okay, so why is Ghislaine Maxwell in jail then? She went to jail for trafficking nobody? Because they're saying there was
Yeah,
no
that don't
list,
make any
nothing like
sense
that.
either.
So why is she in jail then?
He's the one also came out and
Doesn't
said
make-
he's going to
doesn't make any
release
sense.
the Epstein, but the redacted version. Then
So there is
because
a
Elon
list.
kicked back on him when they have this little feud, and
Yeah.
Elon says, because this what's it called, the White House
I told you not to
news
trust Elon.
what's the name, what they call him again, the news, the one that talks for Trump,
press
Come on,
secretary.
Not the
Oh, you're talking
secretary,
about the press secretary.
the press secretary,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
When she come out and started telling lies, which what Trump tell her to say, our administration, she started. Then they're like,
No, I think she
that's
got
bull
jammed up.
crap, because your president, which is technically our president, what the guy was saying,
Yeah.
said in the
Technically,
first
ours.
place when he came in power that he's gonna release this stuff. And 6 months passed. All of a sudden now you realize there's no Epstein file.
Yeah, there's nothing.
Which now I'm sitting there thinking over the weekend. I was like, you know what? King Tax is right now. There's something they blackmailing his father.
Oh, they got dirt on him.
So really,
They got dirt on him.
They got
because
dirt
at
on
the end
him.
of the day, he said it before, and then Elon came after the press secretary released her notes. They try to debunk that there's no file. Elon replied, "Is like you're such a lying, whatever." I had that paper, that documentation on my desk, and it was on your desk. So how all of a sudden
That's
you're
insane.
talking
Because
about?
how long ago was when Epstein got? How long? What year was that when Epstein got arrested?
It's probably like
like 4 years
2022,
ago.
21.
Right, 2020. So that's crazy. 4 years later, we all know about this list. Now all of a sudden he's in the comment. Like that's gaslighting 101. We all know as the people, we know there's a list, and then they're just gonna come on and say, "Oh, there's no list." Come on, man.
I guess Israel is black.
conveniently.
Huh? Oh, Israel's definitely in the middle of all of it. They really are.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Well, remember Jeffrey Epstein is a Mossad agent. He's not even dead.
You don't think he's dead?
No, he's a Mossad agent. That was all
I
fake.
thought-
We
I
never
thought-
saw
I
his
thought-
body.
I thought he died in jail.
No,
Yeah,
that was
saying.
what
They said he hanged himself.
that's what the Israel
They
controlled
never
media
put
told
on it.
us.
They never taken a picture. No pictures never leaked. No one never. I mean, for
Nothing.
something like that to happen in prison, one
Nothing.
of these guards are gonna take a picture of that.
Exactly.
And somewhere
There's
down the line,
nothing.
it's gonna leak.
Who they
Nothing
hang
whatsoever.
himself?
Huh?
Who hanged himself?
Yeah, what's his
Epstein,
name?
in
Epstein.
prison.
That they're saying
And
that he
no
killed him, but we
picture
never saw no
of
pictures.
that.
And that
It
was
was
research.
leaked out.
And now, as of late, I want to say in the last 2-3 months, they've been saying they're like, well, he was actually a Mossad agent, like he was an undercover, like a spy for the Mossad,
I don't
which
know
is
about that
basically
portion, but
Israel's version of CIA. And he specialized in blackmailing people.
Conspiracy.
He specialized in getting very important people in compromising positions, because you have certain people of power that they are sick. That most likely this is true. They are pedophiles. They do want to touch little
You're
girls.
getting consumed with conspiracy, man.
That is not conspiracy. See, this is what, bro. You got to stop listening to the news. I speaks the truth. This ain't conspiracy.
he speaks the
Don't you
toxic
understand?
truth.
See, when you
gotta
say
understand
conspiracy,
it.
when you say conspiracy, that means that media has got to you. They ain't got to me, bro. I had to undoctrinate myself.
You're very consumed.
Huh?
He's consumed.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. I got a PhD in, like I said, I got a PhD in Efri. I smell it a mile away.
It's a little unsettling.
So,
though.
Mr. Baby Trump, here we got something for you,
Mr.
right?
Intelligent Investor.
So you vote for your dad, thinking that this tax cut and these tips is gonna benefit from you. Unfortunately, this is gonna be temporary. So your overtime cuts and all that stuff is just gonna be for a moment. It's not gonna be permanent. So let me see what you're gonna do now.
For how long?
It's gonna.
Isn't it like a $25,000?
A couple months. It's gonna be there for.
Couple of months.
Yeah. So let me see what you're gonna do now.
That's a
That's
nice
a
run.
couple of months.
That's a nice
That's
run.
two
It's a
months.
couple of months to make some money.
couple. I mean, a few months. It could
It's
be.
not indefinite.
I think it was like somewhere about maybe 8-9 months, a year, or something of that sort. But it was somewhere around.
But
that
they can
point.
always put an extension on that.
I mean, they probably would and probably not. They just probably want
a
to see
year would do us very well.
Yeah.
a year.
I think a year would definitely help the economy.
6 months will do very well.
I think very well. That's more money in our pocket. That means more money is being spent.
Child. I mean, child deduction too is good. It went up.
Yeah,
So
that went up. Child deduction went up.
A child. That's a good portion of it. So you're gonna get back. You're gonna get back some.
I never filed for a child before. Never.
You never filed for your child.
I think you get back like what is it? It's like $3,000 a kid or something like that.
It's like
I never had
20
kids.
for a kid. So
I mean, if you make like Mr. Khalid, they'll say he makes too much.
he makes too much. I
I
mean,
don't-
you
I
still
don't- I
can
don't-
prove
I don't
for.
file-
Of
I
course, you
don't-
would get for child
I
credit.
don't file. I
He's
don't
not
get. I
gonna
don't file
get
for child
anything.
credit.
You're not gonna get back anything.
Nah, I owe
Makes-
money. Send me a letter.
Well, it's always
makes too much.
it's actually
Nah,
always
it's just that the problem with that is that at the start of the year you got to make sure you
Yeah.
make them adjustments so
Yeah.
they take enough out.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
it's
so you
actually
couldn't
better.
get back the child
He's
tax
not gonna
credit.
get back
The parent that earns less, it's more beneficial for them to get the child tax credit.
Who?
Say again, though?
That's
The parent that earns less.
Right.
So say
Right,
for
that's-
instance, if I got a kid, my baby mom's or whatever, because I'm not gonna marry her, she just gonna have my kid, and I make 120,000, and she only makes 60, then obviously it's gonna make more sense
Beneficial for her.
for her, because all that money she's gonna get more money back, which I'm gonna take from her, and then everything works out.
So according to it's, I think it's a 50,000. According to the Joint Committee of the Taxation, and the tax bill will mostly benefit workers and families making less than $50,000 per year.
So that's where it's more beneficial for them.
So that's
Wait,
where
make
it's gonna
it what?
make less than $50,000,
Which is basically
that's who's gonna benefit with the more.
which is
the
basically
tax
minimum wage
cuts.
nowadays.
The average person
Which
makes
is-
about 37,000 a year.
Nah, it's a little more because remember that's basically minimum wage. $50,000 a year basically breaks down to about like maybe $23 an hour.
50,000? No, it's
Yeah.
too high. Not that.
50 grand a year?
I think it's like 40. Yeah, I think it's around
50
40.
grand a year.
For $22 an hour for the year, I think it's about 40,000
Let me see. 50,000.
or
So
45.
50,000 divided by 52 weeks divided by 40
50,000
hours.
in New York is not a lot of money, no.
$24.03.
Shit, 100,000 in New York is no money.
100.
I don't-
Mike, just
Nah,
took it
you know
out
what's
of my-
crazy? New York-
I don't want to sound like that because
Well, to
Mike
be
just
honest,
took it
it's
out of
no.
my mouth.
To be honest,
100,000 is nothing.
it's nothing.
crap.
To be honest, in
Talking
New
about
York now,
50,000, you in poverty.
you just made my point.
I mean, to be honest, you can be making $200,000 in New York. You're still poor because you're not really making any kind of difference or making some real money unless you're making minimum $250,000 in New York.
Right.
And that's minimum. That's at a minimum. That's not, that's you having a nice apartment, having a car, having disposable income, being able for entertainment.
Or a house.
No, I mean even at $250 owning a house. Remember, our average house might cost. You buy a house now, in somewhere in the South Bronx or Hunts Point, that house might cost $750,000.
Yeah, I mean within the tax bill too, that increases the mortgage, and actually this is why the market is crashing a lot.
Why?
Because of the glimpse, the beautiful bill, because of this house credit issues, where the financial house industry district or whatever you call it increase a lot.
But let me ask you something, because
the mortgages and the values for these houses now started skyrocketing.
No, but I've noticed like all the things that you're mentioning, like these are all things that basically they don't look good in the short term. But how are they looking in the long term? Because I have a feeling short term is going to be a little rough, but I want to say long term we're going to end up coming out on top.
I mean,
I don't think
for
it's gonna
instance,
get
the one
worse.
we start off first with the deep cuts with the food stamps and the
Okay.
Medicare and stuff like that. That's going to phase in within over a 10-year period.
Yeah,
So you're looking at 30, 35 for you to really see the really impact
yeah.
of that. Doing it. So stuff like that. So, but it's not everything is going to phase in like that. There are things right now since Trump signed off, there things are hitting immediately, instant. Some of them are the tax benefits. Some of them are the birthright situation, citizenship thing.
I don't think that birthright thing's going to go through. Like I said, I think he's doing that more so to appease to a certain demographic that votes for him, and he wants to keep their vote. But I don't think he's going to. I don't think he's going to go through with it.
I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, they sign off on it. I mean, so it's a good to go. Whatever gimmick they were having or what they're trying to portray and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it became reality.
Once people figure
So-
out the loophole and then find out that they got to send back the Europeans too, they're going to kibosh.
I mean, as I said before, would I just reiterate earlier on, every Dargan people need to go back home. If
Yeah.
that's what the case and this differentiation
Who's
and
gonna
this
run the
segregation
economy?
thing, everybody needs
Who's
to go back
gonna
home.
be in the workforce?
The natives.
There's not
Exactly.
enough of them.
The natives.
They were here before and they were managing, right?
No, they weren't.
There's
They had
a much bigger
they had
world
sticks
now.
and stones, and they wore leaves as underwear.
That was then. They are part of
Comparing
they
sticks
are
with forests.
Huh? Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, they wash
Is
their
that-
hair
is
with
that- is
they
that
wash
the
their
same
hair
thing?
with dirt and berries or something like that.
And that's why they survive and live longer than us. We
So
die
you gonna go backwards?
Nah, bro, I need my
They're
dove,
not gonna
bro.
go backwards because they live.
Dove is the only
amongst-
thing I let on my skin.
They live amongst us now to see how technology work and to help develop.
Try to
and
get
all
him
that
to
stuff.
pivot, Mike. Mikey, try to get him to
That's
pivot.
not how it works.
Yeah, right, that's not how it works.
Mr. Intelligent Investor, what is your take on some of these things with the big beautiful bill? Because we spoke on it. What is your take as far as long term, finance wise?
Me personally, I haven't really taken a good look at this bill.
Uh huh.
I know, like a few things that's in it that's beneficial.
Okay.
And
Which
there's
is
a lot
what?
of
Which is what?
same thing. Tax break.
Mm-hmm.
For what? You
That's
say
just
for a year?
temporary. That's temporary.
Yeah, I mean, a year is still a long time. If you don't have to pay
tips.
mortgage for a year, how well would you do?
Yeah.
Not paying mortgage rate.
How do you
That's a nice relief.
how do you think it's gonna affect, like, I guess, stock market investing, things like that? How do you think it's gonna affect?
The bill?
Yeah.
So as I said, I haven't really like deep dive into the bill.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I know that the tariff affect the stock market in a
Yeah.
negative way.
Yeah.
Not that much because the market is still at an all-time high.
Tariffs been
Well,
bringing
it's fluctuating because
I
of
don't even fluctuate.
you know,
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
that
the
tariff money been bringing in some money though the past couple of months, ever since those tariffs got passed.
Yeah.
Tariffs been bringing in some money.
they're bringing money and they're taking away at the same time. It's
Taking it away from
they
where? What
put
do you
it in
mean?
your hand and then they snatch
What do you
it
mean?
back
How?
out.
No, they're not. That's bringing in money for the country. Where are they taking it
They
away
have
from?
this. With Trump went off with this guy too, where I forgot his name. Is Keeney something. He has some. He's a rich guy, wealthy guy. He has some business he's running here.
All right.
So I talk about it for it's kind of refresh. So he decided to take his business and open up a plant in Mexico.
Oh yeah.
So Trump said, "Oh yeah, you think you're a wise guy? So you do that. We're gonna put 200% on you."
As Trump should.
So the guy was like, "Oh, really?" So Trump was expecting for him to come in, Mr. Trump, no, please. We try and say, okay, I'm still billing that stuff. And matter of fact, we open in 2026. So you can go on with your whatever turf
No,
business.
I don't get it. So he's the what?
He's a billionaire
Investor.
investor that has.
Is he an outsider or he's
No,
American.
he's here. He has a plant. It's just like Apple. He has a
And
plant.
what it is, he opened up a manufacturing plant in Mexico.
So he's
So
opening up
basically
for
he's gonna move his
because of
manufacturing
what's
to
going
Texas.
on here. Yeah.
So when Trump
I
got
thought he
wind
said
of that,
Texas.
when
Huh?
Trump,
I
yeah, I
thought
think
he
it's in
said
Texas.
Yeah.
And then what it is, when Trump got wind of that, he's like, oh, since you want to move your stuff to Mexico, I'm going to charge you a 200% tariff. Because what it is that he's going to move all his stuff to Mexico, but still sell to the United States and make a whole bunch of money.
Right. No,
So
I
I can
agree with the
understand-
president.
Yeah, I agree.
But the
Yeah,
thing is,
get some of that
he
money.
was implementing this before Trump went into power because the plant is going to open up on 2026, the early year in 2026. So this was start developing way before Trump came in power. So I guess for him, I mean, business-wise, I would not stop it. So you're going to have me now. I already put in, what, 5 billion, 10 billion already into this thing developing, and then you want me to abandon it because what? You want me to please your behind or please American people? No, I'm a businessman. I don't have no time for that crap. So yeah, put all your
Yeah, in
2,000.
America, it's a
And
business.
America's a business also.
Business.
Like, okay, since you're a businessman
And
and
who's
you
the
don't
president of
and you
the
don't want to
business?
look out for us, we're not going to look out for you. I
Right,
don't
but
blame them.
again, the fact that matters that this guy looked in Trump and was like, okay, do what you gotta do. You ain't gonna change my mind. I'm still standing my standing ground. So
It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
but at the same time, this guy, I think Trump was looking from a perspective where he's like, oh, you know what, this guy's gonna crumble. This guy's gonna come back and begging. But the problem is that the products what he's distributing or selling or whatever the case may be, even though he probably sell it here in the U.S. and have plants here in the U.S. that develop or make these products, it's not gonna impact him that much where he gonna stoop at Trump's feet because he's telling Trump at long term, sure, what the word I'm looking for? At the end of the day, kiss my behind. That's pretty much what he's saying. So you couldn't apply. At the end of the day, he doesn't necessarily have to sell a product here.
I mean, that's not smart on his behalf.
I mean, yes,
Yeah.
if his products is
Short-term
more
loss,
sold-
long-term gain.
if his product is more sold overseas, and maybe there's some consumption with it, not
what
maybe
kind of product?
there's some
What kind
consumption.
of product is it?
I forgot what I think he's into is a part of technology and some type of a food industry. I gotta look it up. I just gotta find his name because I ran out without getting the correct information.
Sound like he has a solid market though.
So
But on the other
But he
hand,
has it's a solid market.
but then on
for
the
him.
other hand, he could be saying, "Oh, I'm not going to bow down to Trump now," but he might end up bowing down to Trump
the
later.
possibility there, yeah. But I mean, this guy. I mean, for him to say this, why you know that eventually you may bow out? I would say, you know what, Trump, let's work this out. Then I mean, I started this thing a year before you come in power, 2 years before you come in power. This is not like something I just, okay, you know what, to hell with this. I'm going to start a building a plant. Let me buy this land and start a developing. This was already in the works before you exist.
Right.
So let's come together and say, let's, work something out. The fact that Trump tell him, listen, if you continue doing this, which is foolish from a Trump business perspective, because he's a business guy. You want this guy now. I'm assuming that he spent
And
a
his
couple.
business is America right now.
Yeah.
I'm assuming
Should
that
be.
he spent at least a couple millions, probably billions, right, to develop this plan, because he's no chicken feeding to develop these type of
What kind
plans.
of plant is it though?
I mean, they
It's a
show a little bit
technology
on the
plan.
news. It's a part of technology and development of products, such as food.
What's his name?
I'm trying to remember. He have a funny name. It could go on. It's popular out there, so you would find information. Just type, or you can type in Trump applying 200% on business owner. That would probably ring a bell for it to come up.
John Deere.
Huh?
He's John Deere 200%.
John. Okay, yes, that's his name. John.
Oh, it's John Deere?
Yeah.
Well,
John Deere.
all of John
John
Deere's
Deere,
business is
there
to
you
here
go.
then.
John
So I don't
Deere.
blame him.
John Deere make farm products though.
Yeah, and where do you think a good 60 to 70% of his farm products is being sold at?
Here in
United
America.
States.
All right then. So I charge his ass a tariff too.
But he's going. I mean, he's going with Mexico. He's going to produce his stuff in Mexico.
Why
So
Why though? Why?
the fact that that doesn't phase
Cheap
him
labor.
of what Trump is doing, and he's not bowing. He's not bowing water. He's not. No.
He's gonna raise
He's
200%.
not
He's
bowing.
gonna raise 200% tariffs on pharmaceuticals too.
Well, those bastards. Yeah, those bastards
200% tariff.
should get slapped. Yeah.
They should, because our pharmaceuticals should be being manufactured here.
They,
You know who's gonna suffer from that?
Who?
Consumers.
what?
Those impositions, those 200% tariffs,
We're not gonna suffer from it.
they gotta make the money back.
No,
They're gonna
I
raise-
mean,
they're gonna raise the price of
we're gonna
products.
pay that. We don't see
We're
what
not gonna-
see
we're
what
not gonna
Amazon
sell-
was
see-
doing at one point, and
Yeah,
Trump-
and that was a tactic,
Well,
and they weren't supposed to do that.
Temu.
according to
Everything-
Jeff Bezos, he said he wasn't the one who giving the command.
Yeah, he didn't give the command. That was a tactic.
Mike was saying the same thing too.
Trust
Yeah,
me,
it
it's
was- it
not.
was-
See, that's where the fear mongering comes in, to where people say, "Oh no, these tariffs." No, it's not.
but we're
Tariffs are
gonna
a
gonna
good
pay
thing.
for it. There's no doubt we
No,
cannot
so
skip it. We're
no,
gonna
so
pay
you know
for
what happens if we're gonna this is exactly why tariffs are put in play. Okay, if a lighter comes in from China, okay, and it's $25, it was made in China, okay, there's gonna charge a tariff on it. Why? Because when they sell that lighter for $25, $20 of that is going back to China. Okay, the same exact lighter that they're making in the United States sells for $25. That whole $25 goes back to this country.
Circulate.
You understand? And circulates within the
Why
economy.
would it cost $25
in the first place.
here?
No, what I'm saying is that I'm giving that as
made here.
I'm giving that as an example.
Yeah, but
So
you're-
basically, the
you're
reason
not
why
paying
those
the
tariffs,
import fee.
yeah, well then you don't buy imported. Then you don't buy imported goods. I have no problem not buying imported goods. If something's too like, let's say if I buy a product and they say, oh well, we raised it because of the tariffs. Well, then I'm not buying it anymore.
But the
I just
problem
go
is
buy
that
something else, and you know what happens?
America-
They drop their price.
America doesn't produce enough resources, whether it's food, technology, or whatever, for them to sustain on themselves.
Well, no, now they don't, because what it is, those are past administrations, which about 16 years of it was run through Democratic administrations. They allowed our country to be outsourced with everything. Basically, all our medicine comes from China. That's not good.
It is good in a sense because
No,
China,
it's not.
But look,
You don't know what they're putting in that medicine.
no.
These are our enemies.
why
You
you
don't
think
buy,
you know
you don't buy
Chinese-
medicine.
You know, Chinese is the longest.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Have
You
the
don't.
longest
Yeah,
lifespan.
for them,
It
for the
doesn't-
Chinese.
No.
The Chinese cannot stand America
Because they
So what
were-
I'm saying is that you don't, for things like that should be produced here.
The Chinese from day one was trying.
They don't have our best interests at heart,
Of
man.
course they do.
No, they
have-
don't.
It's us, our arrogance with us, where we did not, because we think, because yes, they have some culture with them where they eat all type of crap.
The Chinese are way more arrogant than us.
So it's us, our arrogant, because the Chinese,
Chinese are way more-
trying to push a lot
You
of
know the Chinese-
natural herbs towards us.
No, they're not. You know that the Chinese run Jamaica. You know they're arrogant. They're not to be trusted. You know that. They're all the merchants in Jamaica and in the West Indies. They are not to be trusted. You know that.
I'm talking about from a health perspective, right?
From a help for their own people. They don't care
they-
about us.
of course, they share that knowledge with us.
Huh,
It's
they-
just us block
They
that system.
give us
out.
doses of the knowledge.
The what?
They give us doses of the knowledge. They're not giving us all of it at once.
Okay, so you would give if you have a restaurant that you make this fantabulous juice.
Okay.
And somebody come in and say, "Yo, Justin, what's in that recipe?" You gonna give it to them?
No.
Exactly my point. You're gonna say, you know what? I'm gonna give you 50% of it. You figure out the rest. If you make that statement, I would agree with. I would agree. I mean, they're not gonna give away their source, but at the same time, I think personally, I have dealt with a lot of them, even just on a strange level, and they always try to support. It's us that rejected their plan because what we have this fear mongering thing. What the U.S. or any other nation already put in our mindset that the Chinese they eat dogs, which they do, cats and all that stuff, which they do.
Yeah, they do.
But at the same time, whatever they do and whatever they give to us is gonna destroy us. They're not giving us anything good and anything healthy. Isn't correct. When it comes to the natural herbs and being, if you notice the Chinese, when you go and you buy their food, what they sell you is not what they eat.
No.
We have the right and we see what they eat and we can go ahead and make these things. We don't. We like this easy in,
because it's
easy
disgusting.
out.
Have you ever tasted what they ate?
What?
It's gross.
But healthy stuff, I mean,
it's made out of cardboard and Chinese newspaper.
Called bitters. You ever drink this thing called bitters? It's
Yeah,
a
I've had
tox.
bitters.
It's a thing that toxicize your
Takes
system.
out your toxins.
Bitter stick.
Does it taste like honey?
No, bitter stick.
No.
Exactly, but
It's
what
disgusting.
it does your body
cleanses your
good,
body.
right?
It does.
It cleanses your body.
You're
So
absolutely
again,
right.
the food is not gonna take the healthy food is not gonna take 9 out of 10, or I would say maybe 7 out of 10. It's not gonna taste quote unquote like kosher or some oxtail or some beans and
Yeah, but
rice
then you
and
also
all
got
that
to remember
stuff.
with,
It's
with
not gonna
stuff,
taste
with
like
stuff
that.
like medicine. If we're buying our medicine from another nation, okay, especially a rival nation, which because China is a rival nation, they are not an ally. If we're buying medicine, okay, that means that the government will regulate that medicine before they sell it to us. We have no idea. Now, maybe the Chinese people may not hate us, but that government, best believe, is putting something in there that's going to be detrimental to
I'd
our
rather
health.
buy from them than to buy from these bastard pharmaceutical here in the U.S. You're crazy?
Well, because the pharmaceuticals here in the U.S. they got greedy. And they became,
And that's the thing.
And you got to remember, they're not necessarily, these pharmaceutical companies have grown bigger than just being an American company. They're a multinational entity. So basically, they're a-national. They're not necessarily loyal to a country.
You have the Caribbean, you have the Jamaican culture, you have the Panama, you have all these cultures that produce these natural herbs and help people to survive certain things. The pharmaceutical, their plan is to get you on. I mean, look right now, they're suing. According to the news and according to what I've seen, they're suing Bill Clinton, Clint Eastwood. They're going after Elon Musk. They also suing El Rocco. They're the one from NBC or Channel 7.
Al Rocco?
Al Rocco,
Okay.
right. They're suing him because he came out and he told them that the pills, he was taking these pills when he got that liposuction thing, and then he got heart attack like twice.
Yeah.
And he was on his way out. He's dying and he has no way out. And then somebody recommend this lady. I think she's a part of the Seventh-day Adventist infrastructure.
No, she's an herbalist.
Well, she's
an herbalist.
She's an herbalist, but I think she's a
Holistic.
part of the church structure,
medicine.
Seventh-day Adventist, whatever. And she recommend simple stuff. This guy says stop taking the pills. His health boosts up so much and stuff like that. And the pharmaceuticals said, "Oh yeah," and they going after him. But I'm saying I guess because he was.
That sounds like what they did to Dr. Sebi.
He was
Right.
he was promoting the product and the remedy, the
competition.
recipe what the lady gave to him. But I'm saying, why are you going after him? Why you don't go after the lady? Because all of this stuff they get it from that same lady.
Being vocal about
Yeah.
it. She doesn't have strong as influence as Al Roker.
She's out there on the internet. If you just go and type in medicine, she's like
but
the face.
if Al Roker been on TV for so long,
That is true. I mean,
I think what it is, he took Ozempic, and Ozempic isn't good.
Like, and then if you watch
think
the
that's
man,
the one
if you
they
watch
took.
the guy's transformation, people want to transform just like him.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, but so the other thing too, with this bill thing too. So
He
they
might have been on the contract. That's what that was. Breach of contract.
they put Elon, right? They brought in Doge, and according to this beautiful bill, they brought in Doge.
Big
to save-
beautiful bill.
to save the BBB, right?
Yeah.
To save a ton of money. Unfortunately, all this corruption and bamboozle thing they put in this big beautiful bill, the BBB, is gonna create 3.4 to our deficit.
Yeah.
So
It
they
is.
just save
3.4 what? 3.4 what?
trillion.
It's going to add $3.4 trillion
Trillion
to
dollars
our
to the-
deficit already, which is around like
5%.
$38 trillion.
Already that
But
is
what it
there.
is, that's 3. Okay, but like I said, that's the short term. What is the long term? What
do
is
you
the
mean?
long term?
As long as
effect
this
of that?
bill exists, that's the long term. So if this
No,
bill,
that's a cop out. That's not a real answer. What is you're telling me the short term? What is the long term effects of that big beautiful bill?
our bill, meaning that we're not
Just
going to be able
keep
to.
telling us, stop trying to explain things.
We're
You don't
not
know.
gonna
You don't know,
mean-
you don't know. So
No,
you
yeah.
don't
No,
know.
no, but I'm saying it's
I
logic.
think you got
Certain
a
things are
good
logic.
handle on it.
If this bill stay in what you call it
If it stays in the play, but in the long
in the
term,
play, long term basically it's still gonna affect us.
yeah, but we'll probably end up generating more money.
How it's gonna
Because
end
I think
up
isn't the tariffs part of that big beautiful bill?
the tariffs is part of, but I mean you see the chaos
And that's
The
a
tariffs
that's
is
going
gener-
off with the
that's a
You
tariffs.
do realize in the last 3 months the tariffs have generated already a couple of $1 billion. For
I don't
us.
know what planet you're living on because I don't see that.
Yeah, you can easily just look it up. Just ask. Since the tariffs have been imposed, see,
The
you
own
can look
the
to see
same
exactly how much money it
Republicans,
generated.
some of the same Republicans was also going against this bill even
Because
though
those
they
are
were-
neocons. Those are neocons. They're not
because they
Republicans.
realize what this bill is going to do
No,
for the
they're
next
neo.
4 even if
yeah, they
even if-
realize that it's going to take that they're not going to be able to steal any money. That's
how-
why they're against
how
it.
you create a department, right? And you're bringing your own boy that helped you win the election.
Okay.
Bringing your own boy to help save this waste spending, which was beautiful.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Yes, it was.
And then you create this big bill that actually revamp that.
Because most likely,
Debunk that.
Because most likely in
And
the long
add
term,
to
it's
it.
going to generate more money.
How? You just making speculation just like how I'm sitting here making speculation too. You don't know what's going to happen. To my logical sensors,
So
on
for
the
next,
long term,
for the
it's
next
still
show,
gonna
let's
hurt.
do
You
a
have no
research.
logical senses because you have Trump derangement syndrome, sir.
For the next
So
show,
then-
let's do a research about the big beautiful bill.
Yeah.
Then we elaborate on it, you know?
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, no,
so
I know. I
let's do
read a
that.
couple of things on it. I didn't get into it because
I
it
don't-
really
I
is like
don't-
1,000
I don't
pages.
speculate
well, it's
too
right here.
much.
It's right here. But I mean, we
Well, those
don't
are a
have
couple of
all
bullet
the,
points.
the depths of a lot of
Well,
this stuff.
well,
Even
no, 'cause
even
I-
the newscast.
Wasn't
There's
it like-
something
wasn't
it- because-
like,
yeah, but-
for instance,
Wasn't the bill like
Yeah, but I
94
know.
pages?
Look, like I know in the
Like
short term,
What's
short
the
term
last
with this
one?
big beautiful bill, the short term, it's not going to be good. To where basically it might tank our economy a little bit, but in the long term, it's going to revive our economy.
one of the things
understand?
where we
But people
discussed
don't. Nobody. Everybody looks at it short sighted. So that's why they're so concentrated on that.
One
I
of-
want to find out what the long term effects are going to be.
One of the thing where we discussed earlier before you come is that they have this thing called created Trump accounts for every American newborn. It's a part of the birthright thing. I think
Yeah.
you came in a little bit on it, but that doesn't make any sense. What
It
the
does,
hell is
it does.
creating Trump?
So
So
it,
explain that.
it tracks the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is
Standard and Poor's.
the S&P 500 S&P 500 is the best 500 companies on the stock market.
Yeah, on the
right?
stock market.
And it's designed to go up. So our pension funds are in the S&P 500.
Yeah, it is.
Money management funds like let's see, if you manage teachers pension,
Yeah,
firefighters, NYPD, you name it,
yeah.
you know,
Any kind of pension
Harvard,
fund.
you know, everyone invests in this S&P 500. So it's designed to go up, right? And if a company is not performing well, they remove it from the S&P 500 and add whatever company is performing,
Yeah.
right? Every now and then you have a bear market, like once every 3 or 4 years,
Yeah.
you have a bear market. So
Because you got bull and bear.
is
You got bull and bear.
going up, and beer is like down.
Yeah.
So red.
And if
is
you know how to play the
beer
game, you
and
can make
green
money
is
in
bull.
each market. You can either bull or bear.
Right.
You can play. You
If-
can
if
make
you
money
do-
in each market.
If you do stock option. So they said if you invested like $500 or even $100 during the inception of Warren Buffett's fund, what is it called? Berkshire Hathaway, right?
Berkshire, yeah.
Berkshire
Yeah,
Hathaway.
you would be up like over $5 million now if you invested at like $100.
Look at that.
Right. So, and nobody beats the market. People beat the market, but you have to be good to beat the market, right?
Mm.
The market gives you an annual return of anywhere between 19 to like 27%, which is huge.
That's
So if
big.
you're- if
That's
you-
that's like a quarter. That's like 1/4.
Right. So if you're making 25% each year, right? Let's say each year and $1,000 until you're like what, 30? You know, by the
That
time
adds
you
up.
do it, it's gonna be a lot of money.
Because you figure that first initial year, that's $250. If it's $1,000, and then
you get dividends. And
Yeah.
that also.
It's a lot of payoff.
So you're
Yeah.
earning twice.
yeah,
You know?
So you're saying that this create this what called creating Trump accounts for the new, but that's what this ties into. What you
Yeah,
just
that's what it
explained?
is. It tracks the S&P 500. So they take that money and they put it in the S&P 500.
No, but
also it doesn't
Wait,
track to
wait,
the
wait,
birthright citizenship.
Huh?
I thought
It doesn't correlate to the birthright citizenship then.
I know about that part.
Oh,
I just know that.
you know that part. I'm like, it probably does because those are. The,
I thought that was like
So it's
I
like-
thought the Trump account was like a database.
it is.
I mean,
it's a
that's what we were
registry.
Yeah, that's
You
what
know
we're
what?
speculating.
That's
about.
Custodian. exactly what it is.
account is?
Hmm?
A custodial account. It's like you create an account and you put
Bro.
some funds in it and it grows, and I say when a kid becomes of age like 18 or so,
Yeah.
it sends them to college. So you would have enough money to send them to
My
college.
social security number is a custodial account. If I can figure out how to cash out my social security number, that's three
It's
forms.
something like universal basic income. Like
Yeah,
in some
yeah,
country have universal basic income, which I think they should do that here and get rid of tax return. So the government would give you like, let's say $20,000 at the beginning of the year, every citizen, you know, and you figure it out. I mean, if you want to start a business, start a business. If you're a spender, if you're a consumer,
Yeah.
you know you're gonna spend that, and every year you get $20,000,
Yeah.
and that would be considered universal basic income.
Well, we'll see how long this thing gonna hold up for, because at the same time, I think
I'm like, I'm not gonna lie. There's
on
gonna
a-
be a couple of things in
on
there
a
that's gonna
long
bite us
term,
in the ass.
I think
No, that's a
it's-
good thing though. It's
Yeah.
a good
Yeah.
thing.
No, I have a feeling it's a good thing.
Compound.
it sounds good, but at the same time as what you're looking for in the long term, I think it's gonna create a serious deficit problem.
Everything is not gonna benefit you, you know. You have to look at what benefits you, what's beneficial to you, and what's
Yeah.
Don't pay no attention to the other stuff. Everything is not gonna benefit everyone.
If you look on, for instance, if you look on some of the stuff and try to focus on some of the stuff that's gonna benefit you, what I've seen here that's gonna benefit us is on a temporary term. The ones that people are gonna benefit from a long term
So
is the rich folks.
what's permanent?
It's the rich folks. I mean, permanent. You have these missile defense, the war, the ICE, the deduction. Actually,
None of that is permanent.
what?
Everything is reversible. Once the new administration take office,
That's true too.
everything is reversible.
No, all of it is reversible.
No, because I just asked you what is permanent.
Well,
Yeah.
from that perspective, but I mean, at least we have 4 years for us to deal with this.
Yeah.
So if
It feels like we're already 3 years in, eh?
But it does.
We're only like 8
yeah,
months
the,
in.
Not
the,
even
the
that.
stuff 8 months in,
Not
Not
even
yet.
that much.
What are we in July?
7.
Yeah,
So we're 7 months in.
Just in 7 months. So-
So we 7 months. It's July.
Yeah,
That's
he got
8 months.
inaugurated in
August, 7
January.
months. August is 8
August
months.
is the 8 month.
Yeah, he got inaugurated in January.
So
January
remember, he
20th.
came in January.
Oh, I thought it was like November. Okay.
No, he got elected in
He got
November.
elected.
Remember,
He
Biden
won
was
the
still in
election
office.
November, but he swore in January.
And then people
20.
forget those last 2 months Biden was.
The man doing a lot.
And then you got to remember those last 2 months that Biden was in office, or 3 months, he signed off on giving away a lot of bread that nobody talks about that added to the deficit.
No, that Mike don't talk about.
You know what I'm saying?
I
He
don't
signed
know
off on
about
a
it.
lot of bread.
I can't talk as what you said. I can't talk about
I pay
what
attention
I
to
don't-
I pay attention to everything. That's cognitive dissonance,
I
sir.
don't know what
That's
I don't know.
know.
I don't know what I don't know. Well, last
like
but not
that.
least,
I like that.
which will kind of tie into ourselves, so technology. What Microsoft is doing now, and the teachers, I mean, what you guys 2 cents on this? The teachers is signing up, working with Microsoft because they realize now that AI is inevitable. So it's coming, right?
Yeah.
So what they're doing now is that they're working with Microsoft to incorporate AI into schools.
That's going to be a good thing as long as they always keep AI as an assistant. What happens, and this is exactly what's going to happen with the Board of Education. That's a really good implementation because AI is needed, but they got to keep it as an assistant. What's going to happen? You're going to get a lot of lazy educators, right? That are going to want to basically use AI as a crutch, and then they're not going to be teaching the students in AI.
I think they're looking for some type of relief.
Yeah.
And I think it's laziness.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
Once AI step in, now some of these things where these teachers gonna pull back and they don't have to do crap anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing it right now.
That's the only
this is
con,
just
but
gonna be a perfect excuse.
I'm all for AI because AI, if you really utilize it in the right way,
It's genius.
AI works wonders, man.
Yeah, but like
Just
you
can't be dependent on it. Can't be a
said-
crutch.
Right,
It has
like
to be a
said,
tool. You got to use it
can't-
as a tool.
right.
Malik,
You see some people right, and it sounds like a robot because they have to humanize those technologies, those
Yeah.
chat GPT and all that. Like people,
yeah, but here's
people
the downfall.
People
with that.
using it like word for word. Like you
If
can't-
Yeah, and
Right,
that's
exactly. So
laziness.
how-
That's
you're not
laziness.
gonna have-
That's using it as a crutch.
The student is not going to learn on their own because at the end of the day, when the student want to learn something or want to discover something, just like what we do here, yes, we do it as research, but
Yeah.
we're not retaining it as a development on our own terms, right?
We have better things to think about, you know.
That's
Yeah,
what
we
it
don't
is.
have to stuff our brain with all kind of complicated
I
stuff.
mean,
You
I
know,
like,
we have-
I like, I like AI. I don't
Yeah,
depend on
But
it.
I don't think you should
Where
make
you
any.
think this is exactly? Where you think this world is going to wind up now? If we rely on our today's
we're
generation,
adapting, you know.
We should be
Technology.
so we shouldn't be
But
so
yeah,
reliant though.
There are situations where we don't adapt to, where we still
Yo,
keep
without-
it as a distance.
Right,
And
without-
AI is one of them that keep it out of school because now what happened is that these students are not going to have brain intelligence.
No, they won't.
They won't.
Right, like with all
I disagree.
with all
They'll
res-
be-
with all,
they'll
with
be-
all respect,
they'll-
I don't.
I see somebody drive a car into a lake in their neighborhood with the GPS and turn left.
Yeah, I mean, well, you also got to remember that's natural selection because a lot of people are stupid. Then they weed themselves
so
out.
Check this out. So technology was created, you know, to make our life easier.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
True.
say it would make us lazy, cause back home, right, where we're from, farming, they started out using like a machete. Right?
yeah,
Now technology is advanced where you have a truck, and the truck like dig the hole while
Yo, for real, I don't want to interject. I used to see like faster on the highway back home, like 50, 60 people on the side of the highway planting rice. Now I see a big tractor out there.
But
You know,
those are the
like-
technology that would benefit from it, but
Yeah.
not from an intellectual level. The AI cannot help us intellectually because what we're going to
But
do.
that is AI also.
Yeah,
right?
but I'm saying
AI does help
No,
us intellectually.
we have
though.
to segregate it.
no,
to a certain
AI can
extent.
help. They just can't be dependent upon it.
And
AI
this
is
is
very
what's going to happen
yeah.
to the students.
Of course, well, it's not. It's going to happen to the students if the teachers are lazy and they allow
that's what
AI
the-
to take over
It
the
should be an
classroom.
it should be an
students-
assistant.
You
That's what
understand?
the
It should
teachers
be
are
an
trying to
It should be
assistant.
an
do.
assistant.
It's
Like,
basically used as a tool. Basically, AI would be a calculator.
we should use AI
Or
for assistance.
Yeah,
That's it.
it's for assistance. And what happens is that people are lazy because people are, by
mean-
by nature, people are lazy.
I mean,
And what happens is that they become dependent upon it, and then that's when a dependency occurs, or they create a dependency upon this, and then that's what creates the problem.
But if we use that scenario as AI is like a calculator, right? So again, perfect example. If I depend on the calculator, that means I'm erasing my nognum, using my nognum, right? My nognum is a brain cell that develops numbers and calculates.
because you're not doing the work.
right? So if I'm going to depend on the calculator, I'm dismissing this piece of cell inside of my mind where now if I need to calculate 1 and 1 or 2 and 2 and 3 and 3 and stuff like that, I'm not gonna I can't, I'm not relying on it because I already throw this out the window. I'm relying on the machine.
that's not good.
That's a great point.
That's what I'm saying.
That's not
so
good.
this is the problem. Now, what Mike said, where you see those mechanical stuff, for man labor and power, it's helpful. But for intellectually, it's not. It's going to make this planet worse.
It's going to cripple.
So you're saying that you feel that it's more so better, it's more so beneficial for infrastructure.
From a physical standpoint.
So it's more
but
so
not
better for infrastructure, but for academics.
Yes.
See, that's what I'm saying. I feel the same way, but I also feel it can be very, very a helpful tool in academics. But what it is, laziness cannot be factored into that.
But you go to school and they teach you a bunch of subjects. How much of that do you really use in the real world? Seriously.
Probably less than 1%.
I've never used algebra.
So what? AI
No, you actually
get
do
what
use
I'm
algebra.
saying?
You don't realize it.
I took chemistry in school, man. I was the one to use it.
Yeah, and that's why you know how to cook crack so well.
Yo, don't put it. Yo.
Can you wrap up the shit?
Yeah, it's time to go.
Come on, Mike.
It's time to go.
I don't dabble in any of that.
It's time to go. Well, based on what we
Allegedly.
discussed,
We're just playing, folks. We're just playing.
Thank you,
again,
Justin. I
as usual,
appreciate that.
stricken from the record. But on a serious note, so I mean that is what's coming, and we will see where it goes. I think this
What's coming?
based on this the technology level with
You
this
guys
AI
act
thing,
like artificial intelligence is something new. It's not new.
it's not
been
new.
doing
What
this.
I'm
We've been
fearful
using
of,
this.
what I'm fearful is that moving forward as of this day or maybe 5 years ago, is this world is gonna be completely dumb.
Not true. Not true. I mean, if you're dumb, you've been dumb. You still want to be dumb.
Remember I said, 5 years back and moving forward. So you're going to have people here. Now, if they go ahead with this idea, with this AI implementation in the education, education structure, these teachers already, some of them are lazy, right? And
what do you think they're doing in China, Mike?
Whether they're doing it in China, Russia, whatever the case may be, I am not for it. If China is one of the things with China too, you see.
What are you for? What are you for?
No, I'm saying I am not for that when it comes the technology in China, Rich. It's great, but if they're also doing this, where they implemented AI in these infrastructure, in these educational infrastructure to rule out your own intellect, then yeah, I'm not supporting it. I'm not sure, not much how maybe I like China or great they are. No, I'm not going to support it. I'm going to create a balance. And this balance is that if US is doing that crap, China is doing that crap, Russia is doing that crap, I'm not for it. Because these kids are going to grow up dumb. Because what's going to happen is that they're going to toss these intellectual development on their own out the window. And what they're going to rely on is the calculator.
So before
and AI
this,
thing.
the ones that were dumb are still dumb. Before, how do you explain that?
The ones that were dumb and are still dumb. And that's going to make it worse because if they were dumb before and then AI come in, they're going to triple dumb.
They're not like
so that's going to answer your question, right? They're going to remain dumb because they're coming out with things that's going to keep them dumb.
They're not likely. They're not smart. They're not going to be smart enough to maximize on those technology anyway.
No, they won't. They won't.
Yeah, and that's
They
the
won't.
point what he was making.
No.
He was trying to make.
You got to remember, you just
if
don't
they
want...
were dumb 5 years ago and then they come out with this idea, they're still going to remain dumb and probably even get dumber.
It's not so much that because if
Right,
you're dumb,
but-
you're dumb. If you're smart, you're smart. It's more so
I
you don't want them
I
to
think
be
the artificial
complacent.
intelligence encompasses a lot more than that because if you look at the way that stuff it gets useful for like
Man. AI works wonders, but that has to be utilized properly.
Disability, like technology and stuff like that.
Right.
Like it does like so
It
much.
yeah, it definitely has to be utilized properly
I'm
though.
not trying to debunk the AI infrastructure in the context of like man laboring or gadgets that could help us humanly. What I'm referring to, I'm talking about intellectually. if you put in AI,
I mean, one doesn't go without the other, you know, Mike. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, but that's what I'm saying. We can't stop AI from coming in. We know that. That's
We
for
should
sure.
embrace it, actually.
We have to.
Yeah, we should
embrace
embrace
this
it.
is not new though.
We
When
have to embrace it. But the problem is that we have to create a structure and a borderline that we don't cross over with this AI. This is one of the things where a lot of these companies, when they came up with ChatGPT, Congress was really not for it. I mean, even today's
Mike,
Congress is still not for it, but they cannot stop it.
this,
They can't. They
this-
can't stop it. They have to go with the flow, adapt to it,
Yeah.
right?
when you call any company, right, and you get
These automated crap.
right, what do you think that is? That is AI.
It's annoying.
That is AI.
No, that's
It's
artificial.
annoying.
That's AI.
It's annoying. I want to talk to somebody one-on-one.
but that's what I'm saying. When you go to McDonald's or wherever you go and you speak to the machine, and
That's
it's
all
like,
artificial intelligence.
Yes,
Yeah,
but I'm
so
saying
it's not-
some of these things, but again, these are labor and helping us to advance. Okay, I mean, that doesn't have to do any brain power or
Does-
any
does-
intellectual development. That don't have no. You're going like, oh, I like this. Order me this AI. Okay, thank you, sir. That has nothing to do with our intellectually. I'm talking about intellectually, not something assisting like the garbage truck or the truck what you see digging up the plow in the dirt. That's beautiful for those farmers, and I applaud for stuff like that. Again, coming back to the core of it and the context is that if you bring in AI to replace our education infrastructure, we are not going to grow intellectually. We are going to become worse than where we are right now.
But I don't think
Intellectually.
they're going to replace it, though. They're not going to replace teachers.
But that's
they're
what
just
they're
adding
doing.
it. No, they're not replacing them. They're just adding it as a, what do you call it? It's basically another tool that's going to be used in the classroom by
Correct.
the teacher.
Correct.
They're not replacing
Yes,
the
but
teacher.
if you have some of these lazy teacher, these lazy teacher are, I mean,
Right,
mo-
but
yeah, I
what-
know
what
that,
do
but they
you-
weed themselves out. You can't automatically just
you're
think.
not going to weed them because the whole, I mean, the
No,
whole
they will.
shebang.
Trust me. A lazy person always gets weeded out. A lazy person does not last. Everybody
Well,
knows that.
I mean, half the stuff right now with these public system right now, I mean, half of them are lazy.
Yeah,
if
because
not
the people.
more.
Yeah, no, because
But how they
because
not
that's
weed it out?
because that's the way the public system is designed. You understand?
Well, as I said, we agree to disagree. And,
Yeah.
At the end, but I mean, based on what we discussed, so your final thoughts on whether the
My
technology,
final thoughts,
the BBB.
Well, with the big beautiful bill, I'm 50-50 with it. I'm 50-50 with it. Like I was saying, I feel that whole birthright citizenship nonsense is not going to go through. After listening to Mike explain what the Trump registry was, that actually makes a lot of sense to where it will be monitored by S&P. So that means that most likely for obviously, the higher, 1 to 5% of the richest people in the country, they're going to make their money. As far as implementing AI into the classroom, I'm all for it. But it has to be monitored. It has to be regulated. That means that you have to have people that are responsible enough to know that, no, I will use this as a tool. I'm not necessarily going to use this as a crutch. I'm just not going to automatically say, that people are, because there's a lot of educators that actually, they went into education because they care. And that's
Got a heart for
that's a job of passion. That's not necessarily like me. I don't want to be an educator. You know why? Because I don't have the patience. If you don't listen to me the first time, I'm not going to tell you again.
I
I have no patience for it whatsoever. So because you got to be empathetic, things like that. So like I said, I feel that's going to be a good thing. With also long-term effects as far as what's happening right now with the big beautiful bill, yeah, it is going to add $3 trillion to our GDP, which is already like at 38 trillion or whatever the hell it is. But I want to say long term, if everybody sticks with the program and we don't have other oppositional forces trying to stop things, then I think it's going to get better to where we can generate more money. But unfortunately, people have other interests. That means if somebody's making money, that means if one group is making money, that means another group is not making money. And then this is where the rift comes in. So those are basically my final thoughts.
Angel,
deep. Enjoy the relief while it lasts for the big beautiful bill.
BBB.
BBB. That no tax on overtime and no tax on tips for however long it lasts. Enjoy it. We've been waiting for this.
There was a thing too where we kind of missed with the same no tax on Social Security. I don't know. I don't get that. But we're not going to discuss that another time. That's foolishness. Mike.
They floated it. I don't think.
Mr. White, final thoughts.
Yeah. As I said before, now, and I always say, whatever you do, don't listen to Michael Port.
You see, they're trying to debunk you from me speaking the truth.
Right.
The truth shall set you free.
Yeah, they're trying to censor you.
No,
Yeah, they're
no,
trying to censor
no.
me here.
Mike likes to fearmonger and tell everybody the sky's falling.
Right. Technology make your life easier, man. I think you should embrace it.
But that's what
adapt
I'm
and
in.
adjust to the time,
Remember,
Make it
I'm
work
in that
for you.
field.
Because people have always been, a lot of people have always been dumb, and you're still dumb.
Yep.
And they're gonna be dumber.
None of us here are dumb. That's why we don't allow dumb people in the garage. So none of us here are
Everyone
dumb.
has a phone, right? Right. You could make money on your phone.
Of course.
Not everyone
Talk
does
to
that though.
Talk to me.
Most people spend time on social media
Yeah.
all day.
Which
you know?
is
And
they
not make any money.
That's on their phone or on the computer, and they make money too.
We should really do research and stuff like that. Keep abreast of what's going on.
You should do what?
Read, like research, keep abreast of what's going on. Use it to improve our lives, make it better, make better decisions.
Thank you.
Yes, I agree.
I mean, that's the constructive part of it within the whole matter.
I feel like you look for the negative in everything.
I feel like you attacking Mike right now. Man.
Exactly. You see, the problem is that I live in
Attacker,
actuality.
attacker,
He's
attacker.
living in reality.
You
right?
don't. You have TDS, sir. You don't live in actuality.
You
You have Trump during. You watch CNN.
I like that word.
You watch CNN religiously. You do not live in actuality.
But it's real. It's real.
I'm living in actuality. He's trying to live in reality.
Mike, why does he say? Why does he
may
say
happen,
these things?
right? You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
So at the end, I ain't paying them no mind.
Mr. White, why does
My
he say
thing
these
is that
things?
I have to think from the bad and the good perspective, because if I'm going down the street,
I've yet to hear
right?
you say anything good.
You gotta weigh things out. This is
Exactly.
life.
So I'm
Life.
saying, okay, what if I go down there and I hit I run into a hole and puncture my tire? What I need to do? How I'm gonna debunk that? How I'm gonna navigate that? How I'm gonna
Right,
get
the
out
whole,
of that?
the whole
I'm
art
gonna
of
call
the whole,
Mike to come and
right,
help me.
The whole
I'm-
art of war and survival is for us to anticipate the enemy's intentions
Exactly.
and
Yes.
reactions and how to counter it.
You see, these guys,
Yes.
they get up every day and like, oh, I'm gonna go outside and I'm gonna have a beautiful day. And then now, when something happened, somebody
Boom.
chop off their toe.
Right.
They're like,
Oh,
what happened? You know, they don't know what to do.
No.
No,
No.
yeah.
What did you know?
you gotta live in actuality.
No, that's not actuality. He doesn't live in actuality.
Right.
He lives in a big dome of fear. Okay, that's what he lives in.
No,
But
no,
we understand, though. I think we could all agree that we gotta weigh the good and the bad.
of course,
You
we
always
have
got to weigh the good and the bad.
I mean, I get up. I'm gonna think that good things are gonna happen, but the actuality is that bad things may happen as well. So at the end of the day, I'm hoping that the good things happen, but at the same time, that is not reality. Bad things are going to happen.
So you won't. You won't be so devastated.
Yeah,
And hurt.
you live in this land. You know we are human beings. We know for somewhere down the line we're gonna get sick. Right? We're going to get sick. No matter how healthy we eat, no matter vegan style we do,
God
we are
forbid.
going to get sick regardless. Now, what we do when we get sick, we already have a plan in our mind. Okay, you know what? If I get sick, I get this cold, I'm going to take some lemon and some garlic and some honey and stuff like that to debunk that.
That is why we have a medicine
what?
cabinet.
Anyway, let's
That's
go
why we
on.
have a medicine cabinet
Look,
and stuff
yeah,
like
Look,
that.
the actuality is Trump is the greatest president ever. That's the
The
actuality.
actuality is that's the greatest dictator is about to be birthed.
The actuality is Margaret Porter just said dick.
Tater.
We're gonna censor it.
He's about to become a dick.
You know what?
Tater. Anyway, final thoughts from my side is do your cross-reference based on what we share with you. We try to bring factual stuff to you, but I mean, at the end of the day, if you find we share something with you and is it correct, feel free to reach out to us and help us clarify it and straighten it out. But keep on keeping on. Thank you for joining the show. Spread the word, share, subscribe. We cannot do this without you. We would need your help to continue growing and to continue to survive and for the garage to spread out so people like yourself and others would hear about this. Again, thank you for joining us, and see you next time, same place. Peace out.
Peace.
All right.